all just got back from seeing Edvard Munch's The Scream at MoMA. So what did everybody think of seeing it in person?
Well, I noticed that it kind of looks like a sketch, almost like he just drew it on paper, and there are a lot of colors involved. Like right there on the bridge, you can see like purple and green as well, but they're pretty much just variations of one shade.
Right, and another thing that struck me was that when I first saw it, it almost looked like a child painted it. It looks like a child's rendition.
Well, I've always heard about the Scream. It's often parodied in comics and there are posters of it, but I'm surprised at how disturbing the painting actually is in real life.
When you looked at the painting on the computer, people have somewhat touched up the painting and made it seem a lot more vibrant than it does in real life. When we went and saw it in real life, it almost gave off that crayon effect. Everything looked very fine compared to just taking a giant paintbrush and just making big, broad strokes.
Yeah.
The whole thing seems to be a pattern of lines, but none of the lines are plain horizontal and vertical. Most of the painting is made up of swirls. And the straight lines that there is, like see the railing here is straight line, but it rushes away into the distance on an angle, and the whole thing seems to just induce unease.
In the actual oil painting, the color painting, the men are sort of standing, leaning over the railing, sort of contemplating, but yet in the lithograph, which was also made by Munch to be reproduced, the men are exhibiting a sort of a different posture. Do you think that was intentional by Munch, or do you think it was something that he just did by accident?
It might have been on purpose, because he seems to be very specific on even the distance. They seem to be also like closer. So maybe their angles of where they're standing and their distance from the screen was done on purpose.
Right, and then even the face of the main person is so much different. It's definitely a lot better seeing it in color. You sort of get a different feel for it.
He's really weird looking. Like, he doesn't look like a person. To me, he kind of looks inside out, like
alien-like.
Yeah, or like as how you would see a body from the inside. Like you could think of it as this whole thing is just the emotions going on in his head.
But yet in the lithograph, it looks almost like a witch, per se.
It might have been more defined because there aren't any colors to enhance the meaning of the painting itself. So maybe he used this in a way to pretty much give off the same message, but in a different manner, because there aren't any use of colors.
Right. I think the wavy lines definitely contribute to the fact of uneasiness in the painting. Everything seems to be a lot of swirling. Even the sky is not a straight line. It's more wavy and giving that illusion of unease.
Yeah, and like we spoke in class about how a painting is usually split in three. So here, the top of the painting is like the fiery looking sky, and then that meets a total opposite color, like a cold blue, and they're two extremes, so you feel like tension. And then the third part of the painting isn't even straight at all, and it just like rushes up diagonally away, the railing, and so the whole painting just seems to like be a portrayal of an emotional mess.
I do think that the sky and the river are like pretty much contrasting each other and creates a tension, but it's also interesting how it kind of just merges together. Like right here, when the blue and the yellows and the orange are right above each other, they're pretty much drawn in the same wave pattern. So that's how you can tell that they pretty much share the same idea or trying to convey the same message.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, and even like the time of day seems unconventional and makes you feel something. Like it could be sunset or sunrise, and those are both times of change from what we're used to. And there's a discomfort in change, so even that just
And even like the pattern is interesting because the waves are pretty much in one direction, but once the bridge comes in, it's at a diagonal. So maybe it's trying to say this is one side of the story and that's the other side of the story, because they're just completely different.
What do you think about the complexity of the Scream? Is it an easy piece? Does it come out and tell you what it's about, or do you have to think a little?
It's challenging in the sense that it's like really hard to understand the actual meaning of it, but it's open to interpretation, and it looks complex in the way that he not only used certain colors, but the way that he used those colors.
So maybe Munch used that dark blue to symbolize the despair, the darkness that's going on in whatever the person in the painting is experiencing, along with the men in the back and what they're experiencing as well.
The different colors could also be his, like the different emotions that are going on inside, like jealousy and hatred and...
Yeah, it's like a physical projection of what they're feeling on the inside. This painting was painted in 1893, but I think the meaning of the painting is universal and timeless because of the fact that people will always have struggles and suffering in some way or another, whether it be like emotionally or financially or socially or anything else.
So what makes you think that it's somewhat universal? What sort of leads you to that?
The fact that you can't see the faces of the people in the background, you could represent pretty much anybody. They're off to the distance, so maybe how they physically look isn't important as much as the fact that they're still people and everybody has the same issues in some shape or form.
Yeah, like also the whole painting seems to be just a symbol of any negative emotion. So that, like, everyone feels like this at some point. Everyone feels like the Scream.
I personally agree with the merits of Munch's work. The painting is, like we said before, it is universal, it's timeless, it can apply to any situation, anybody, anywhere in the world. Even what's happening with us with finals, everybody's freaking out. We have a couple days left, random stuff is being thrown at us, and it's just dealing with it.